Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022 regular board meeting for the annual budget hearing. I got it right. May I begin with the pledge, please? Let's see. Jody, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, thank you, everybody, for being here today. We'll begin with the public comments on agenda items only. And, oh, wait.
No, we don't have.
You know what? Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll get it right. I've got a month left.
Yeah, just the budget hearing.
Okay, just the budget hearing. We did the pledge, and if we can bring up Will for our budget hearing.
We'll still do the public comments for the next
Yep,
meeting.
sorry
It's actually
about that,
technically
Will.
next meeting.
Yep.
You
I'll
guys
get
have
it
a
right.
presentation loaded? Yep. Thank you. Yeah, it's coming. There we go. So welcome to the 2023 budget hearing. This builds on the series of presentations we've been doing on a monthly basis to the board. No changes since the last iteration done last month. So I think what's really important here is the district has faced a series of challenges over the last couple of years. There's no reason to detail those. We've all lived them. We've all experienced them with our friends, our family, our relatives. And there's had an impact on all of us, as well as our students and our staff. Has an impact on the way we conduct business. Has an impact on those young people sitting out there in the front row. To add to that, we have intensive academic, social, and emotional recovery initiatives. We're funding with not only our own funds, but our federal grants. And we're confronting a difficult employment market, as anybody can see in the labor statistics, and inflationary pricing pressures. Those are our challenges. Those are what our budget is moving forward trying to overcome. And we'll get into some of the detail. There it is, $138,676,004. Don't ask me why $4. That's the way it came out. 3% increase over last year, which is a little bit down. I think we were 3.79 last year versus the year before. Broken out, these breakouts are required by the state, not part of our normal presentation, so we have to hit these highlights. They're also part of our budget newsletter, which will be going out in the next few days. General support, program, and capital are broken out separately, totaling on a ratio basis or as a percentage. Program is by far the most significant piece of our budget at almost 77% of the funds. General support and capital plan operations total about 23% of the budget. These are what's in each category. This is the general support category. It includes central office, instructional administration, HR, the business office, and the Board of Education budget, including the district clerk, the superintendent's office. Relatively unchanged moving forward, mostly on the back of payroll and benefits. Payroll and benefits are 74% of our budget, so they drive most of the numbers here. Our program budget, again, this is the area that sees the greatest dollar growth year after year. Employee benefits are $24 million of this $106 million. Transportation costs, including our contractual costs with a contractual provider, are about $5.7 million. There's about a $2 million athletic budget. Pupil services, including many of the social worker and health services, psychologists, those services that are serving the SEL needs of our students, about 4.8. Special ed instruction at about 19.3, and regular school instruction at almost $49 million. So this is the bulk of our budget. Capital planning, our buildings and ground staff, our janitors, all those folks who make these buildings clean, make them tick every day, keep the lights on, keep it moving. And their employee benefits, about $8.5 million for plant operations. It's a very large percentage of growth because we built in extra funding for some of the inflationary pressures we've under right now, including electric utility, gas for vehicles, and that sort. And then just normal budget items like refund of taxes. Year after year, there are tax assessments that are protested. If they make it to a settlement process, we are sometimes forced to give refunds. We haven't done nothing that approaches the $200,000, but we keep the $200,000 available in case that happens. And then the transfer to the capital fund for the $100,000 capital outlay project. So those are the three sections of breakouts that we're required to present as part of the budget hearing. If anybody has any questions at the board level, I'd be happy to answer or keep going. Where's our money come from? $54.8 million of state aid, that's about 40% of our revenue. $66.9 million of local property tax revenue, that's about 48% of our revenue. So those total to 88%, that's the bulk of our revenue. Sales tax in Erie County is another 6%, that takes us up to 94%, and then we fill in around the edges with our fund balance, and general fees, interest on accounts when there is interest, and there will be next year. Rates are rising. So that's how we come to our total revenues to support our budget. Here's our tax levy limit calculation for the last 3 years. Last year was the first year that the district did not go to the cap, I believe in the life of the cap. So that's the $1.1 million you see at the bottom of the middle column. This year's tax levy limit grows by 2.25% to almost $67 million. Estimated tax rates. Historical rates, 2018 to 2022 for each of the towns is listed. The 2023 estimates are just based on ballpark numbers with assessments. We do not have assessed values as of yet from the towns. Equalization rates, which is the bottom of the chart, is a number that the New York State adjusts. West Seneca's equalization rate dropping from 34 to 30% of value will force a higher assessment value when equalized and force West Seneca to absorb a larger portion of the levy than the other towns. Cheektowaga is fully assessed, so they assess that theoretical market value. So if you have a $60,000 home in West Seneca, in theory you divide that by 0.3, and the state would say that you have a $200,000 market value home. So that's how assessment value translates to market value in terms of state. Another key portion of our budget is the New York State aid. Some of it's expense driven, about $16.3 million. So the money we spend at BOCES, the money we spend on buildings, the money we spend for some high cost students, money we spend on transportation has certain aidable relationships with the state, and we continue to try to drive those as high as possible to benefit the district and the taxpayer. Foundation aid, we're in the makeup period. We had a good foundation aid year last year. We're having a good foundation aid year this year. The question is, one more to bring us whole, and then what? The commitment is there currently at the state level to get us whole. That does not make up for the many, many years that the district was well behind on foundation aid. You can see by the numbers that's being put through the foundation aid line that, we were $6, $7, $8 million a year behind the scheduled amount generated by the formula for many, many years, which caused the financial crisis we all know about approximately 10 years ago. Another part of our budget hearing, we talk about our capital outlay project, just so everybody's clear. This is built into our budget. It's in the capital section, that $100,000 transfer. It's an approximate budget there for the work to be done in this building, converting the swimming pool into an auxiliary physical education space. Prior to this meeting, the board has passed the secret resolution saying that has no environmental impact on the surrounding community. We've done a series of these projects that have been related to pools, and we continue to try to keep our pools operational. The plumbing and piping having to do with swimming pools is very complicated, and if you touch them to any great degree, the ADD Disabilities Act gets involved, and you have to make massive changes to pools. That's why you see in several projects going on across the area, very large pool projects going on to the tune of in the 30s to $40 million. Impact of a contingent budget. Should this budget be defeated, we have the ability to change it around and go out for a vote in June to try to get it approved. If we elected to just not put it back up, we would have to reduce the budget by almost $1.5 million to stay in line with the contingent budget rules. You can only have a 0% tax levy to do that, so we would have to back out any added tax revenues, and it would result in a significant reduction in staff positions across the board, as well as all equipment that was not health, safety, or special education related would be eliminated from the budget, to the tune of several $100,000 on equipment. Other required budget documents listed there are all part of the disclosure that's on the business office's website. They'll also be electronically available in the buildings as well as the libraries. It's about 97 pages of reading pleasure, so please feel free to look at them. I wouldn't recommend printing them out because you'll exhaust your paper resources at home. If anybody needs one, again, you can download it and keep it on your disk drive at home. Disk drive, I'm such an old guy. There it was, right there, disk drive.
At least you didn't say floppy disk.
That's right.
No, that disk drive is that close to floppy. I should say I developed this presentation on Lotus 123. There's only 4 people here that know what that is, and they all just laughed. So, the bus purchase Proposition 2, we have a bus reserve, which we funded last year. The board allocated surplus funding into it to raise it back up to $2.5 million. We also extended it last year for another 10 years. It will be transforming itself into the purchase of electric buses at some point, once the state decides how and why that needs to happen. But for 2023, the proposal is that we use $582,840 of that reserve. No cost to the taxpayer. We're buying 8 buses, all 30-child capacity to replace aging equipment. Some of the aging equipment will actually be involved in other operations in the district to assist with, maintenance mechanics and things like that, being able to move around the district. But we tear the seats out, we convert them. They have to, I think, be painted so that they're not all yellow anymore. They won't look like a giant block of cheddar. Are there any questions on the bus purchase? Again, no impact on any current tax rates or anything else.
The electric bus thing, that's a done deal, like that's happening? Or is it just been talked about and voted on and
Supposedly it's happening, but there's a lot of kinks that need to be worked out.
Okay, so, all right.
I mean, just logistically, where you build the charging stations, they're extremely expensive. They unfortunately don't hold their charges very well in the cold weather. What if you drive to Rochester and need to charge again and you need to find a charging station? I mean, there's a lot of...
Well, plus, are we going to be allowed to exhaust our fleet before we replace?
It's a phase in. That's the plan.
But it's I've only seen bits and pieces. That's not in 2 years you have to do this type thing yet.
In 2 years,
It's coming.
you will be started doing.
Something has to, okay.
That's as it stands right now, yes.
It's liable to be full force by 2027, correct me if I'm wrong,
No, that's correct.
and you might not be able to buy diesel or gas-powered buses
Yeah.
after that point. So I want you to just think about our transportation operation. There are roughly 70 buses parked there. There's not electric available to go to 70 different places and plug in. They're stored outside in the cold, which we know can occasionally occur here in January and February, and in even April, which probably explains why I'm talking the way I'm talking right now. So are there any questions or comments from the Board of Education first before we open it up to any public questions or comments? Okay, I'll go to phase two. Is there anybody in the public that would like to offer a question about the budget or anything that needs to be clarified? It's about 81 cents a thousand estimated for West Seneca, and I would expect 0% for the other towns based on the fall of the equalization rate in our town versus the other towns.
So 0% increase?
No, I said 81 cents. 81 cents per thousand. The average assessed value in West Seneca is around 60,000. So, math. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you for all your hard
Thanks,
work.
Will. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
And your team, too. You had a lot of
Oh,
people
yeah.
working on this.
Great team.
This is probably the worst thing to do on camera, but I just think I did some quick math. Is that for a $60,000 assessment, $5.40?
No, it's 48.
No,
48?
48. yeah.
$48? Okay, then I didn't carry. Probably shouldn't have done it on camera.
No, don't do that.
That's okay. I'm gonna regret that. May I have a motion to adjourn the budget hearing?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Molly, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Pete, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That leads us into our regular meeting. We had the pledge, so we're good there. Thank you again, Jody, for doing that. Now we'll go to the public comment agenda portion of our meeting that I tried to start earlier. The public comment section is a time set aside for the community to speak directly to the Board of Education. You should note that the first public comment section is only for items related to agenda items. The second section is for any other comments. Each speaker is given 3 minutes with a total allotted time to last no more than 30 minutes. When called, please step up to the podium and state your name and address. Please be respectful in your comments and do not divulge any personal or confidential information. The information shared will be carefully considered and the appropriate person will contact you. If you'd like to be contacted, please leave your information with the district clerk. Thank you. Is there anyone that would like to come up for public comments on agenda items? Jen?
Dr. Savoni, would you mind, there's a sign-up sheet behind you. Would you mind just taking a look to see? It's got the pink piece of paper on top of it.
I'm sorry, I'm cold. It's May.
Just Jen? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Now, I don't know if this is going to be for the budget, in regards to the budget, but can you explain how adding a class would go into a budget? The reason why is I brought up financial literacy numerous times, and it's just been brought to my attention a couple of days ago that New York is going to legislation to make seniors take another financial literacy class on top. So I was just wondering how that would work into the budget and how that process works.
Well, I can answer that. That's a good question, Jen. So, I mean, ultimately, if they're doing that, there's going to be a designation as to what kind of certification a teacher would have to be able to teach it. So, if it's a business teacher, for instance, we have economics, so like a social studies teacher would teach that. But if you had like a business teacher, for instance, that was going to teach that, we would assess our capacity, like what are their caseloads like right now? And if we needed to go ahead and add sections, I mean, it is possible that we may have to add like a half-time teacher or a full-time teacher. We've also used even like family and consumer science teachers before to be able to teach like financial literacy and things like that. So I think we'd want to know, first of all, what were the requirements outlined with the class, and then we would evaluate our existing capacity to be able to meet those needs, and then if we had to, we would make a recommendation to be able to create a position. But I would think adding one class for seniors probably wouldn't have too substantial of a financial impact on the district.
Okay. And would you, with the school, wait until New York State approves it, or would we be able to go ahead before New York State agrees to it, to add that class to the district for the students before it goes? Because all the states are starting to do a financial literacy class.
We'd have to have a larger discussion on that, Jen. So I know they don't answer questions, but something about what you're doing tonight's making me answer questions. It's some sort of mind trick you're playing on me, but yeah. So I think
mind reading.
I can tell you that's been in discussion. What
Okay.
you're describing has been, I think your idea has also been asked by others as well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any others before we move on? Okay, great. We'll close that, and we'll move on to the superintendent's report.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Jody, I don't know about you. I'm not cold. I'm actually a little warm over here, so I'm going to go ahead and go with that.
Send it down here to her.
Okay. So just a few things I just wanted to be able to update. So some of you have heard, and I know I put this in an update to the board, but APPR, so that's the Annual Professional Performance Review. So that's basically teacher and administrator evaluation. It's been put out there that that's going to be something that it's basically going to be waived for this year. It has not been officially indicated, though. I did check with BOCES yesterday. We're still waiting on the final word on that. So basically, the past couple of years, school districts have had the ability not to submit reports basically related to teacher and administrator observations to the state as we are normally required to do. I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. That's not something that's been officially approved. I'm hearing it's going to be. It's more of a matter of time.
It's in discussion today in the Senate.
Yeah, so really, at this point, it's a legislative action.
So we're waiting for it looks promising.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm hearing too.
I think
but-
it's a given,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I would think so
It's on
as
the
well.
floor.
Yeah.
No.
So,
Good.
I mean, again, just, it's been talked about so much that I just wanted to be able to put it out there that it's not something that's officially gone through, but as Jan said, I think it's going to go through, so. A couple other things we have going on right too, I thought I would just take a moment. I know we've been kind of sort of informing everyone of just some of the different summer programming that we have going on, but I thought maybe just, and we'll get like a full worksheet out, but just thought it might be a nice opportunity to talk about some of the different things we're going to be doing this summer. Continue with some of our existing programming, like for our elementary schools. Last year we did have a summer program for the first time in a number of years. How we structured it was kind of an east side of town, west side of town, and we had like 2 grade levels per teacher. And we had about 12 to 15 kids. Got great feedback from that program. Last year, one of the things that we got, though, is that we thought it'd be better if we could target individual grade levels. So that's what we're doing this year. So, for instance, it's going to take place at Clinton Street Elementary, and it's going to take place at Winchester Potters. Clinton Street and Northwood will each have, basically, there'll be like a section for kindergarten for Clinton and Northwood over at Clinton. A section for first grade, second grade. Over at Winchester Potters, the 3 west side of town elementary schools will have one for each grade level. So we're effectively doubling the size of the class. Going to focus very heavily on ELA and math and things like study skills. So, I mean, the program's, again, got great feedback last year. It's something that the feedback we got was we need more of it. So that's something we're going to be continuing for this year. One of the other things we're looking to as well, and I know that there's been a lot of great talk about this too, but is our kindergarten transition program. Stepping Up to K, I think it's called. Mrs. Persico, correct me if I'm wrong on that. On My Way to K. So that program is going to be taking place over at the West Seneca Soccer Park. The town has been a great partner in helping us to be able to plan that. We just had a great meeting, kind of a kickoff meeting about that last week. And that's something that's going to be really just for all incoming kindergartners. It's going to be kind of a carnival of sorts. We're going to have bus rides. We're going to have kiosks with reading specialists, occupational therapists. Dr. Cervoni is going to be cooking hot dogs. There's going to be a lot of good stuff going on over there. But just trying to get people really excited about being there. Moving up to the middle school, so we're still going to continue with our grad point. We have a credit recovery program over at the middle school, which we've been doing for a number of years now. It's very ELA and math-based. It just keeps kids, active, in this. There's modules that they work through, but we've gotten some good feedback on that, so we're continuing that. Another new program that we're looking to put into place this year, and Ms. Persico, correct me if I'm misspeaking on any of this, but it's our Stepping Stones to Success program. for incoming freshmen. So we're going to run this at each high school. And it's not necessarily if the student failed classes or anything like that. It's really largely based on teacher recommendation, counselor recommendation, but students just trying to help them, kind of get themselves oriented to coming into high school. So there's going to be an ELA and algebra focus. There's going to be a study skills focus as well. They're going to bring in like our mentors. We have Fresh Start mentors at the high schools. So there's some students that are going to be coming down to help work with some of these incoming students. This is a pilot program, but it's one we've seen similarities to in other districts. And the discussion was just how can we get some of our incoming freshmen who might be slightly at risk ready for the program, ready for the high school. So something else we're very excited about being able to do. All those programs I've listed up to this point, too, we are going to be providing transportation for. That's something, again, too, we haven't always done historically in the past, but we're going to be working to do it this year. And then we have our high school program. We're still running our credit recovery program for our high school students. So basically, if a student took a class during the school year and did not receive credit for it, they'd have an opportunity to come in and get credit for that class. We're also looking, again, so we've been doing this for the past few years, to offer Regents exam prep and Regents exams. Not every district offers Regents exams in the summertime, and it's something we found really helps out our students a great deal. We stopped doing it for a number of years when things got tight financially. We reinstituted it back a few years ago. Leading up to that, though, you have a little prep program. So a couple of weeks, the students would come in whatever class that they go, algebra or whatever it was they're going to be taking, and then they'd be able to actually take the Regents exams on campus with us. So just some excitement for the summer. I don't know, well, the kids are calling it exciting necessarily. We're hoping they are, but any questions on any of the summer programming we're looking to be able to offer?
No, sound great, though.
Yeah, we're excited. We really are. Also, just something too, this is live and late breaking here. We just had a great meeting this morning with the grant writer. So either a board meeting ago or a couple of board meetings ago, you had approved a contract with the local grant writer. And we had a kickoff meeting this morning, actually. Myself, John, Karen, Jackie, Nicole, and Will, and just sat down and talked a little bit about just some of the opportunities that might exist for us. This person, we just kind of threw just ideas. They're actually going to have a dedicated person to a grant writer that's going to be exclusively dedicated. I shouldn't say exclusively, I'm sure they have some other districts too, but they're going to be very accessible to us. One of the suggestions that she had made was that she's going to be pushing out on a monthly basis a grant report, sort of basically what available grants are out there. We're going to push it out to our staff, to everyone. This is what's out there, encouraging people to be able to say, if I'm a classroom teacher, if I'm a building principal, a custodian or something, and I'm saying, hey, my life could be a lot easier, if we had something along these lines, and this person, we'll develop a process. We're even thinking about a committee, to be quite honest with you, just to make sure that we're not having two people trying to go for the same thing, just to sort of streamline things a little bit. But, ultimately, not only are they going to, as I mentioned before, going to take a look at our current budget and go line by line to see if there's anything that can be paid for through grant money, they're also, if we have a new idea or something that we want to be able to expand upon a little bit, we talked about records retention, boring stuff like records retention and things, but that really, we spend a great deal of time and energy on maintaining records and things like that, maybe digitizing some of those, looking at like a transition coordinator to help students that have disabilities to be able to transition, whether it's out of high school, but really it's a K-12 thing, helping them to secure resources and support for other services within the community and things like that. Looking at possible things that might impact our UPK programming, social emotional supports. There's a wide variety of things that we kind of threw out there, facilities, kitchen equipment, dishwashers, things like that. So, there's this individual indicated that New York State, of every state they work with, is probably the most generous and has the most grants available. Sometimes they make it a little tricky to apply for them, like they'll release it on like a holiday weekend and say you've got 2 weeks to apply for this, but so there's quite a bit of money out there that we want to be able to try to capitalize on. So it's more to come with that, but it was very exciting just to hear some of the opportunities. We probably talked for an hour and a half, maybe longer. And everything we threw at the wall, she said, oh yeah, absolutely. And she kind of gave us examples, technology, things like that. So, and in some cases, these grants have strings attached, like you can't use it on salaries or something. In other cases, we talked about the possibility of trying to enhance playgrounds and things like that. And they don't always have strings attached. It's just, here's the money. You want to use this for something that's going to benefit health and wellness or social emotional support and things like that. Go for it. So.
Are these solely governmental grants that we're looking at, or is this person look at grants as a whole, everything from Ralph Wilson to I was in a business group at one point, and that group nationally was giving $1,000 to every teacher who applied. stuff like that? Like, is it public grants
This is
also and private?
anything, Ralph Wilson Foundation to New York State to the Tower Foundation,
Okay.
that's a big one for social and emotional support. I mean, it's whatever is out there, and they have kind of an inside, not inside scoop, but they have a line on everything that's out there, which is why it's going to be important. We're going to push this out on a monthly basis, but we even talked about getting together on a monthly basis with this individual to be able to talk about, hey, here are the ideas that have come up, and, how can this potentially supplement or, add to our, or replace, existing money that we're using on something. So, now, the one thing I will say, and they caution us, I mean, these things do take a little bit of time, so I think, her perspective was starting off about this time of the year, gives us some nice time to set up. I was like, geez, are you just going to have a dead month, a couple of, she said no, from her perspective, that this would be a good time of the year to sort of start off the process, kind of get ourselves set up to go, and then, within a matter of months, we could actually start to see some of the fruits of our labor with this, so. Any question? I know I just said a whole lot. Any
There are a
questions?
bunch of grants out there. There really are,
Oh, a ton.
especially social studies, history, they type of thing, a lot of grants.
Yeah. New instruments.
With
Yeah.
Music,
Yeah, it's funny, we threw, we had a full, I had a full, 11 by, 7, big notebook filled up with stuff.
Birchfield's an example. That was great.
Yeah, so there's just a lot of, untapped by us revenue potentially out there for us, so it's exciting.
Go for them.
I'd love to have maybe the grant writer come to a board meeting, maybe a work session next year to
Sure,
talk to us about that as well.
absolutely,
'Cause
absolutely.
that's exciting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, I was excited by the opportunity, but even more excited when they talked about the level of accessibility we would have to this person. They really would be assigned to our, they talked about potentially a couple times a month if we needed to be able to sit down with them. I thought, wow, that's fantastic. So I think we'd have a high degree of accessibility. And they want to hear, I was saying, geez, aren't you worried about being overwhelmed by, we have 1,100 staff. If they put it out to everybody and not that 1,100 people are going to respond, they said the more the better was their take. So, any other questions on that? Okay. Okay, yeah, sorry. It's a lot of talking, especially through a mask, so. I'm ready for the
Great.
assistant soups.
We'll do a quick board president's report. Just want to report on two things. If everyone, again, remembers the budget vote and election, May 17th. In order to vote, all you have to do is live within the school district and be 18 or older. Only requirements to vote, so please come out and support the district by showing up. The other thing I want to point out, because I know we have a couple of representatives that are not here, I believe the PTAs and PTOs are going through their processes of getting new members for next year on their boards and stuff. I think that's already rolling along. But the esports boosters, a lot of the members have seniors and they're moving on. So just going to throw it out to everybody. If you know anybody on the east side who's looking to get involved in esports boosters, they could use some people to step up and do some leadership. West Sports Boosters is losing a couple of, they're still going to stick around, but the board members have kids that are seniors and moving on. So I know those are two huge groups in our district, and I know we want to get it out there that they're looking for some parents to step up and give them a hand. So I just want to throw that out there. I know you're going to be, Ellen, I know you're going to be working with them to get that out there, and I appreciate that very much. That's it. Move on to assistant superintendents. Mr. Stoney?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Yeah, the grant writer was very impressive, and I would definitely encourage her or who our representative is. Super creative, super exciting conversation to think about some of those opportunities. So, as far as just a monthly update, I know I've shared with you in the past about some new software systems that we're implementing. One is Red Rover. That's our whole attendance process and our sub-recruitment. So we actually are set to go live in a couple weeks. It will certainly be an interesting process anytime you change a massive system that is going to affect over 1,000 employees. But we thought this was a good time to do it and prepare us that much better when we enter in September. It's extremely user-friendly, extremely modern. So I sent out an initial email to kind of our leaders, our principals, our directors, our senior clerks as they kind of prepare. And then I'll be sending something out to all staff. And then the actual program itself will send an invite and people will set up accounts and download the app. Just as a refresher, it is the system in which an employee would put in for a day. It is also the system that our subs have. So this is modernizing from subs getting texts like you get with basically every appointment now. But they can respond by pressing 1 to take a job. We can update videos. We can add information. It's really modernized. And if you were familiar with our current system, it's night and day. So we're really excited about one sub recruitment and also it has a lot of really user-friendly reporting processes. So if principals want a snapshot of how they're building attendances in any given week or month or see trends, we believe that will help our management as well. So very excited about that. Aidable through BOCES, they've been supporting us through the process, and a ton of hard work by really the HR team in preparing for this. We're kind of simultaneously doing two things, two major system overhauls. So it's a lot of work, but we think it'll pay dividends and be very and create a better experience really for our employees and for our subs. So just wanted to share that with you.
I'm sorry to interrupt. That's got to be drastic and time saving as far as tracking and just, communication wise.
Yeah, like something as simple as, a principal maybe wants to get a quick snapshot on maybe how one of their employees in their building, how their attendance is for the year. Right now they go through a process, they contact me or they contact someone from our HR office, they generate a report, and that lag time will be gone. The way this system works is the principal will be able to go in, select an individual and see things very clean, very graphic, charts and pie graphs, and be able to really have a clean look. Be able to see trends, this is, a couple Thursdays in a row or Friday or things like that. And, it's also very beneficial, I believe it will be to the employee when they, see their own attendance balances. They'll be able to see, time that they've taken off already this year. So that in itself can at times maybe give someone pause or have them self-reflect on their attendance. So attendance is something, sub-recruitment is a whole nother thing. We've done a lot with that. I think we've had some great success. We have struggles just like any other local district, but the easier that we can make it and a more user-friendly experience for our substitutes to take a job, to know where they're going, for our teachers to be able to secure subs and put in absences when medical situations happen, we believe is better. Is a good thing for us. So
Appreciate that.
it was time. It's never easy doing it, and then it's embracing my team. I said it's gonna be some headaches initially, and we'll work through those. And we have a great support team, and I'm excited about it.
John, I would just say our current system is it's not as user-friendly, even just to implement, just to put a day in. It's not fantastic.
It's
On a floppy disk.
It's on a floppy disk, yeah.
It's horrible. It's disk drive stuff. Sorry, Will. I also know that there have been questions from time to time that have come up about some of the action that you need to take with personnel items on the board agenda. And I've had a lot of conversation in and around with my team, and they watch these meetings too. And they're very vested in, how things pass on the agendas, because that drives a lot of functions after you take action on that. And I was able to share with Matt, I believe we share with you, just some internal checklists that we use, that the staff use on that. And there is an extremely detailed process that goes on from when someone can apply to us and what we require out of their applications. And this is the other system that we're updating. So I sent those checklists. Believe it or not, we are moving to a more digital onboarding process, digitizing our personnel folders, et cetera, with another software program that we're also working on. But it will also create efficiencies and accuracies as well. But there is an extremely rigorous and detailed process that we go through from what we consider a complete application to our interview process to then our onboarding process. Really a lot that happens before it ends up in black and white on your agendas. And I know that sometimes not knowing all those things, and then you have to vote. So I've been just doing a little research on some other districts. And I think number one, if that's something that you're interested in and want to learn more of, I was talking with Beth Johnson, our personnel supervisor, Kelly Conti, Julie Layton, and Dawn, members of that team. and suggested maybe creating an opportunity for anyone interested to come in and kind of go through a process with us and kind of see what that looks like and be able to ask some questions and see what happens from maybe interested applicant all the way through to board approval, and then the steps that happen after that, from our employee change notifications to setting up IDs, to certification checks, to checking teach, to fingerprinting, to our GCN mandatory training, all of those things. So yeah, if that's something you're interested in, send me an email and maybe we can coordinate a time for a small group to come in. They were very open and excited to do that. Also, I know that in looking and just talking with some of my colleagues, sometimes they put a little bit more on the board resolution. I know sometimes we get questions, are we sure that these people have certifications? Are we sure that maybe that they were fingerprinted? I will tell you, yes, people that you approve, people that work with us have those things. It is a huge responsibility and the team takes it very serious and has a variety of checks and balances with that. But I've seen some board agendas that will say we will approve these employees and actually add some of that verbiage in, that these employees have have appropriate certifications for this position. If they're a civil service position, that they were appropriately selected through the county and gone through that process, and have some fingerprinting. So I could offer some some possible resolution language or language that would really be updated. We could work with Nicole to update if that's something that might resonate with the group. I thought a first step might be to come in and meet with the team and just talk and just see what goes on with this. Quite frankly, a lot of our requirements for employees haven't changed. They update things, we have different trainings, but the certifications have changed, but they need certification. The fingerprinting piece, the county pieces have been going on for several years. So they're very good at their process, but I think it would be beneficial. So if it's something that you'd like to learn more about, I think that might be a logical first step. And if there's something that through discussion we realize, hey, you know what, this would maybe put us at ease or make it more comfortable to be able to do a vote, perhaps we can, develop something, and maybe it's just a change in the verbiage that just might make sense and be manageable by obviously the HR team, but also, meet your need before you make those decisions. So sensitive to it, and I get quite, it's funny, the more I always say, we saw what went through, we saw these questions on this, and, even have that team kind of brainstorming and things that, could just reassure, our board and, anyone before you take action on those things. So it's definitely important to us. We believe we have some great systems in place, but, it's worthy to talk about and maybe find some ways to improve. Any questions?
I appreciate that, John.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
you.
No problem. I appreciate the questions, and, shoot me an email, and then maybe in the coming weeks, we can coordinate a time, an hour or two, and it'll be fun.
Can I ask you a question? When does the emergency COVID certification expire? Does that end this year?
I don't, some people still have it. I don't know if they're still issuing it. So the genesis of that was, right, they weren't holding the content specialty test. So the state allowed for this, you've met all the other requirements and you can't take the test. So they allowed this emergency COVID cert. It expires, I don't know, I will find out for you. My understanding is that it was phasing out now that the content specialty tests have been reestablished. But I believe they lasted a year or two, so people could still have them.
Right.
And we have a variety of reporting that we have to do. I work with John Dalbo every year, and we assess all of our teachers and everything that they're teaching. And every course that someone teaches has a back-end course code, and it links to their certification. So just in the past month, I will go through with John, and we will generate a report, and we will look at it and make sure, because even if someone has a cert, does the cert align with the course that they're teaching? For example, a high school course, some electives can be taught by any cert, some are content specific. Obviously, Global 1 is going to be a social studies cert. But, forensics, could that be social, or maybe that's a science, but there are some that maybe, there's some multiple certs could teach. And we go through a really detailed process, and there have been times where we will notify people if their cert is about to lapse. As soon as someone's cert lapse, they are immediately placed on an unpaid leave. So we've had to do that with people in, from administrators down to teachers that, we will tell them, I'm sorry, we don't terminate them, but we place them on an immediate leave until they can settle their we'll send reminders and the state gets reminders. But this certification check, because then that is reported out, how many teachers perhaps are teaching a section or multiple sections outside of their cert. And there's certain exceptions to it. Are they working towards it? There's typical exceptions that if you've tried to solicit people to teach something and you've done multiple interview attempts or posting attempts and you can't find someone, there are exceptions. So like rural districts perhaps that don't have the ability to find, maybe a tech teacher or a chem teacher because someone retired or left, the state has those exceptions. But there's a lot that goes into the certification area that we have to make sure, and we once John will initially get a list, we'll cross-reference it, we'll make sure there are any errors, we'll talk to teachers, we'll talk to principals, and it's not uncommon to have some examples of it, all districts do, but we have routinely in the last year have very single-digit numbers of people that might have an example of something outside of CERT, and there's almost always a reason why or a purpose why that might be happening. But there is a huge degree of accountability that we have with our state reporting that links to certifications for our staff. So it's not something that we can take lightly.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, John.
Karen? You're directly behind four people. I was looking for you.
She's wearing a blue jacket and the wall is blue.
I was looking for the Bills pants.
They're poppies.
They're poppies.
Good evening, everyone. Just a couple of updates for you. Our Ela Curriculum Audit is just about completed. We do still have 11th grade, kindergarten, and first grade pending. That should be completed by the end of this month. Just some general observations that have been made at each of the levels. High school, we have dedicated independent reading that our teachers are providing our students, and choice also for kids. While they're sustaining their reading independently, they have that choice allotted to them. We are really good at having the common summative assessments, so those end of unit or end of year or mid-year assessments, but we really need to expand upon collaboration for teachers to create some of those common formative assessments, so that learning along the way. So these might be tests, unit tests, and things of that nature. So that's an area of focus for us at the high school level moving forward. Additionally, a point of observation at high school is that we are transitioning to the ELA honors program. So this year at the middle school, we had our first year of 8th grade honors. So next year, those kids will roll over into the 9th grade ELA program. So we're in the developmental phase of that. We will be doing some summer work curricularly. So time for a cross-building is definitely needed. We do have literary analysis of text. There's a couple of common texts per grade level currently, but really what our teachers have expressed is that we really need more diversity. We want that in some of the texts that we are reading, and that really is in alignment with the cultural or responsive sustaining education, and really building up high school classroom libraries. I think we do a great job at the elementary and middle for that matter with our Readers Writers Workshop, but really having that same focus at the high school level as well. So again, these are just preliminary observations that have been shared, but at the end of this process, there will be a complete report that is shared with us. At the middle school, again, we continue with that independent reading. There is some accountability with that reading at middle school. So for instance, journaling on what they've read, but again, giving kids the opportunity for choice of what they're reading. The Lucy Calkins Units of Study Readers and Writers Workshop really has helped us a great deal with the horizontal alignment and having that shared resource, but continuing to provide teachers with half-day release time or time for collaboration so that they continue to develop ideas and align that curriculum is something that has been noted by teachers and as part of this process. Again, giving teachers the time to see to what extent our objectives are being met using this shared resource is something that has been identified. At our primary and elementary level, there is varied implementation. So it depends on the building and the grade level, it depends on the stages of the teachers where they are. Some teachers have been implementing Readers Writers Workshop for many years and have had professional development, while others are new and need the professional development. So that is why we are embarking upon not only this audit to identify things like this, but also with our teacher-to-teacher support. So they will be going into classrooms starting tomorrow. And also on Thursday, there was a survey given to teachers back in March on the Superintendent Conference Day, just asking questions around literacy instruction and what that looks like in their classrooms. And then these visitations will be doing the same things, where we have one of the 3 people that are part of Teacher to Teacher, just popping in and out of classrooms and observing literacy instruction in action. And it'll be very interesting for us to see if these 2 findings, both through the audit and through the teacher-to-teacher, are corroborated. Are they noticing the same things? And so really, it's just a support to teachers in the Readers Writers Workshop. Having that shared resource, one way of implementing, is really helpful. We have been piloting in some classrooms currently Phonics First. And so we do have a cadre of teachers in the fall that we have already established a 1-week training for folks as a Tier 2 intervention moving forward to provide additional support. Again, varying degrees of implementation at the primary elementary. Some reasons just no more complicated than the COVID pandemic has put an additional strain on our students in their learning and trying to catch that up. The last thing I just wanted to share with you is that on Friday and Monday, the Erie County DA's office is sending a representative per our request to both of our middle schools to do a presentation on cyberbullying, the perils of social media, and then also social media threats. So the Assistant DA herself, Danielle Debate, will be presenting. It is at West Middle this Friday and then at East Middle on Monday morning, both at 9 o'clock. So if you are available and want to pop in, please feel free to do so. I think it's great timing, and we're going to follow up again in the fall with repeat presentations. So that's all I have for an update. Any questions?
Can I say a question?
Yeah, Carmen, or did you have a question? Sorry, Jody.
That's okay. In regards to the cyberbullying presentation, is that something we still have time to bring into our high schools, seeing that our freshmen really were 7th graders, 6th
Yes.
graders when they had an actual year of school before this season?
So it is scheduled already at West Senior for May 20th.
Okay.
But East Senior had just recently done one, so they're waiting till the fall to bring them back in. So there are plans in progress for that, for sure.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Carmen, who's running the curriculum audit?
That is Erie One BOCES.
So Erie One BOCES is running that?
Yes.
Okay. Did that cost our district, or is that?
We chose to go through Erie One BOCES because of the fact that it was aidable.
Yeah,
So it's a fraction of the cost, and as opposed to if we're bringing out an outside consultant in to do something of that nature.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
My actually question, it might be more of a comment, I guess it's a question, but the cyberbullying, can we at some point lead that into a parents/community forum?
Sure.
I know we did one several years ago. In fact, it might have been,
We're going to touch on tomorrow night a little bit too.
oh, yeah, they're going to touch on tomorrow night? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if that
Social media
was,
awareness.
okay.
Yeah, we did bring in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children a couple years ago, pre-pandemic. We were at East Senior in the auditorium, and they went through a really
Yeah, that
great
was
presentation.
like was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It was
3 years
right
ago, yeah.
before
I thought it was
COVID.
great, so I'd like to do
Yes.
something like that
We
again.
can certainly reach out to them again.
I was going to ask, who's going to speak? Is someone going to mention the thing tomorrow night? Jackie, okay. So I won't bring that up. I won't.
Okay.
You steal our thunder.
Yeah, sorry, Jackie.
Thunder?
Sorry. That was, I think the one we did was great.
Yeah.
I think even going back to when Brian Graham was here, he did one. Those seem to be the well-attended.
We've had a few of those. And Brian started it, we kind of kept it going a few years, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's amazing the information that they share, that some things you just never even thought of.
Oh, there's
that are
stuff
out there.
that they showed that I didn't know existed.
Yeah,
So,
same.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Tom.
I mean, I ruined it for you, but you might as well come up anyway.
Nice teaser.
That was an intro.
Good evening, everyone. I will start with the SEL Forum, which is tomorrow night at West Senior. It is from 6:30 to 8 at the West Senior Aud. We're looking forward to a presentation and question and answer with members of our People Services team. It'll include some social workers, counselors, school psychologists, as well as our new form teams. Our behavioral, emotional, social support team members will be there, as well as our outreach social worker that will be there to present. And you're absolutely right. They will talk a little bit about social media. We're really looking at this as the first in a series and in an opportunity to be able to present continued need areas, one being social media for parents. We can certainly expand upon that into next year. There will be an opportunity to share ideas and needs and thoughts from the community to be able to say, how can we target things moving forward? So absolutely. I think it's time to bring a lot of those things back. You know, as much as COVID has kind of put a little bit of a stall on some things, it's just an opportunity to bring things back. Tomorrow, we also will be focusing on some things that we're noticing with our students in the area of anxiety related to returning from the pandemic or coming out of the pandemic as best as we can in the new normal. But there's a variety of things that we can talk about in a multiple series opportunity that we'll look forward to doing. Is there specific questions, Ed, that you think? Okay.
No, I was thinking more, it was focusing on that side of the things, so that's why
Yeah, there's a little bit of everything, but then if there's more that we need to expand upon, we're happy to do that or bring in additional speakers. We will also provide resources to families. There's an opportunity for families to leave with what community resources will be available that they maybe can take advantage of as well.
Great.
So just providing as much information as we can and getting that ball rolling again. On that same theme of kind of getting things back in action again, we're bringing the Special Ed Advisory Committee back together. This was a group that was formed pre-COVID that Carm led, and I believe, Diane, you were on that committee as well. Looking at bringing this group back together before we end the school year, because some members of that committee are actually retiring. So we wanted to kind of close up, review the plan, take a look at where we were. There were some goals that identified that weren't necessarily able to be fulfilled just based on shutdown and COVID implications. So really want to take a look at it. Does it make sense? Is it meeting our needs? What goals do we need to adjust? And then how do we keep this committee going moving forward? So that's mid-May. So that's something that is certainly I'm looking forward to bringing back.
Yeah, it was a great committee, a lot of different people.
Yep.
There were some teachers, some aides, parents, there was a whole group of people, and just getting the ideas together of how you make the special ed services uniform across the whole district.
Yes.
So it was really great.
And it was great. A great plan was developed. It's a solid foundation for the things that we work on in terms of a vision and a mission. And it's just good to always review that and say, how are we doing moving forward? Don't anticipate that we'll be changing the plan drastically because a lot of work was done. I don't think our vision and our mission is changing, but how are we addressing the needs of the folks within district, parents, and students and community, and how can we bring things forth? It also included a partnership with Parent Network that provided some trainings that we're looking at reinstituting. But again, we want to see how that rolls out and what people need and if needs have adjusted and how we can accommodate those needs. So looking forward to that. Additionally, we are continuing to wrap up our CSE and our CPSE meetings. This is the time of year where things are starting to wind down a little bit, reviewing student progress thus far, areas where students need some continued improvement, and what programs and services we'll be able to offer students. Also working closely with Mrs. Persico about some literacy supports and how in which we can train some additional folks in a variety of different reading strategies and being able to support our students with disabilities, because we're finding that, you know, we want to catch things before it gets too far beyond where a gap may be able to be shored up, and working closely to take a look at that, as well as continuing to program for our students who have already been identified and where we need some support. It seems this year that we have a significant number of kindergartners coming in need of support. Don't necessarily know what the reason for that is, but glad that they've been identified already and looking at ways that we can hit the ground running in September, make an easy transition. Preschool to school age is a big jump. Sometimes kids go from multiple adults in a classroom, so wanting to be able to support the kids moving forward. So that's basically what's going on in special ed and pupil services.
Questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
No.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, Jackie.
You want We'll move on, we won't, now move on to student representatives. I'll do like I did last time and just ask if anyone has anything that they want to throw out there. I'll start, obviously, with probably what I consider one of the greatest events of the year, the Students of Excellence Dinner. The board is, it's great that they invite the board to that. It's a wonderful event. My favorite part of the evening is hearing all the different careers that these kids are choosing and all the different places that they're going. It's a lot, you know, if you had opportunity to be involved in it, you know, it's a great program. If you haven't, hopefully someday either your kid is chosen or you could sponsor. They're always looking for sponsors for the event, and there's lots of ways. Your community organizations sponsor kids, so there's lots of ways to get into that room. But I'm telling you, once you do, it's one of the best nights that this district has to offer. So again, everyone who put that on, Bob Merkel and everyone, what a great program, and to those kids, you know, congratulations again, because it's quite the honor. And again, the board had I'll speak for the board, I think we had a great time being there, and some of us had a kid there. Congratulations on that. Some of us got to sponsor, and some of us got to enjoy some great food and great company. Sorry.
I was just there's a lot of community sponsorship too, so the
Yes.
community really comes in for this one, so thanks to all the
The
sponsors.
business community
Yes,
is huge in that. Everything from your local barber shop to your, you know, to your, like I said, the community organizations.
Cleaning
like-
company, yeah.
Well, like Rotary and Kiwanis and Lions and Women's Club, and so it was great. So, anything else? I know basically if you're bored any night of the week, I would guess you could stop at the high school, one of the two, and something's going on, whether it be concerts or lacrosse or baseball or any type of event. I think tonight alone, all of my kids are somewhere in the district, and my wife is running around making sure that they're taken care of because I'm here. Anything anyone else want to throw out there that the high schools have going on, or even the elementary schools or middle schools?
I know Marissa's not here tonight, but at the last board meeting, she had an opportunity to talk about what it was like to go through rental of the space and the new software and all of that. This particular past weekend was the weekend in organization that my son is a part of, rented space at the West Seneca Fields, and just a shout out to everyone involved in that. It was great. It really was.
Excellent.
Everything,
That's great.
nothing was missing.
That's great. Good to hear.
And
Good to hear.
correct me if I'm wrong, but the inaugural girls flag football team won,
They did.
if I'm not
They
right,
like killed the other team.
killed the other team.
It was like 52 something, I think.
They ran up the score in the first
We
game.
ran up the score in the first game. Those girls are, well, it's because we do the other girls flag football in the
Powder
fall.
puff, the powder
And
puff game.
and so they're prepared, they're ready to go. I think there's like 10 teams over in the program, and we're one of the 10 that participated. So I was following it closely. And where do they play? They're playing at the field house, I believe, right? Ralph Wilson Field House?
That's where they started
Am
off.
I-
That's where it all started.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, and I think, anything else? Okay, we'll move on to presentations and recognitions. PLC Associates is here.
Sure.
You want to?
I could do a little introduction here, yeah. So, thanks, everybody. So, we have with us tonight Betsy Connors and Betsy Smith. Yes, they're both named Betsy from PLC Associates. We've talked, actually, the past couple of board meetings a little bit about the idea of considering the partnering with a strategic planner, and PLC Associates have worked with a number of districts throughout the state. In our area, Kenton, Frontier, and Iroquois are probably the three names you'd know the most on strategic planning. Ultimately, we talked about some of the benefits of being able to engage, a variety of members of our school community. We will talk a little bit about first setting the tone for what we value, but then talking about some long-term goals that we want to be able to set. So just a little background. So the process here right now is that Betsy and Betsy are going to come and talk to the board a little bit. They have a presentation. We haven't signed on with them yet, but at this point they're going to talk. And then there's just going to be a question and answer period where, board, please just ask any questions that you have. And then from that standpoint, then we can talk a little bit about next steps if we're interested in working with the company or not. So just a little bit of background here. Betsy Connors, 35 plus years in education. She was a teacher, a principal, an assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, adjunct professor at Lemoyne College, and really just a specialty in developing pre-K through 12 educational programming and creating systems to be able to move schools from good to great. Betsy Smith, 30 years in education, teacher, ELA coach, principal, assistant superintendent for curriculum instruction, superintendent of schools in the background. So, and just again, creating systems for school improvement, empowering educators, and just really trying to maximize the impact that, that our educators can have on our students and our communities. So we're very excited to have both Betsy and Betsy here with us this evening, and without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to them. I think I just took your second slide, by the way, too.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you for your time this evening. We really appreciate being here and sharing our love, which is strategic planning. I have the clicker, so I'm ready to go. I'm driving the car now. All right, so you already heard a little bit about us. Just so you know, this is Betsy Smith, and I am the Betsy Connors of the Smith & Connors show. But the first thing that we want to talk about is the importance, first of all, of starting to get all of your ships sailing in the right direction, correct? Going in that same direction. Because you heard some awesome reports. A real shout out there to the people who just reported about what's going on with your pupil services and what's going on in special ed. But how do we make sure that everyone is having that opportunity to talk about the same things in the same way? That's where we come in. And so the first thing we talk about is systems thinking in that big picture. And you can read what's in front of you, but the most important part to us is really connecting those critical components of goals, structures, and practices, right? So that we can have an integrated and sustained system as we move forward. And it really is putting this puzzle together. As I was listening to each of the people speak about their department, what was going through my mind is then how do we put all this together into this puzzle? And again, that's where we come in. So a strategic plan is, in a way, a blueprint. It's also a framework, and as you see on the screen, we will be looking at where you are currently, helping you look at data, gather perspectives from the community, and sort through all of that, thinking always about where is it that you want to be in the next 5 years. Our students are at the center of all that we do. And we want to make sure that the future is theirs, that they all reach their potential, that they find their place in the world. And it's such important work. And so this is where we want to pull all the pieces together, line it up so that we have that success. In a way, a strategic plan unites the community. And I can't think of a better time in our world than this need to unite our community for the sake of our children.
And what we heard as we've listened tonight is how important your community is to you and how important it is to give the community voice as they're talking and we're learning together. And just spending this short time here, we were both writing notes and comparing. It was so exciting to hear the things that you have going on here. So as we start to look at this blueprint for success, it's both strategic and operational as we're moving ahead. So again, as Betsy just talked about, the strategic referring to that blueprint, where are we going and how are we going to get there? And the operational refers to those action plans that are going to be developed and implemented that allow us to reach our strategic intents and our goals. And I love this. This is yours. I'm letting you take this.
All right. I like to think of a strategic plan as your anchor and your kite. It's an anchor because you will be creating goals that will ground you. And so that when you're grounded, no matter what is happening in the community or the country, the dust that swirls around us, we can always come back to this plan. We know exactly where we are going with our students. And then the kite, this is where you soar. This is where your students soar because you have plans in place that allow the structures for them to meet their goals and your goals. So your anchor and your kite. So as we put a plan together, the role of the BOE,
the Board of Education, of course, is to approve the work. And we will work with a core team of stakeholders to review your mission, your vision, your core beliefs, and set some strategic goals for the next 5 years. It'll be the responsibility of the superintendent to lead the way for the action plans that will be developed. And these are the step-by-step plans that take you through the plan to actually meet your goals. Many organizations set lofty goals and are excited about it, but it's really the implementation. And this is where we will help you to be able to monitor and take these actions so that you actually reach the goals. So when we set our goals, we'll have predictable outcomes. Anything else you'd like to add there?
Not on that one, but now I'm going to go into the one that I love so much, which community participation is key. Everyone has to have a voice in this process. And we start out by thinking, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years? What does West Seneca want to be known for? And then beyond that, if the news were going to come in today, what would be your headline? What would you say about your school? I heard about 100 headlines, I think, as I listened tonight to the amazing things that are going on here. So there are multiple ways to have the community participate, because we know one way, one survey won't work for everybody. We won't get everyone's voice that way. So we know that we have to hold some forums, which we would start, where we would have a learning question time, where we come in, you learn about the process, we hear, we listen to what's going on in your district that you're so proud of. And that, again, is open to the community. We have surveys that will go out where we triangulate. What is the thought from our teachers? What's the thought from our students? What's the thought from our administrators, our business personnel, our business community partners, and also, most importantly, our students? And how do those things align? Then we will do more focus forums where we have people come in and share their opinions on what's happening. Then we have the group of the core team, and the core team is really the group that's going to be rolling up their sleeves and doing a lot of work around vision, mission, goals. And then we have task forces that meet where when we decide upon what are those big areas, what are those goals that we want to address, all right, the core team's going to work on those. What are those goals? Then the task forces go out, they roll up their sleeves, and we have experts in the field who come in and help us with. So if we have one about innovation, say that what we hear from our students, they want some innovative courses, right? They want us to think outside the box. Then we bring in experts who are doing work through BOCES or through other districts, and we see and look at and read and research what's going on that we want to bring here. So again, the task forces then do their work and bring their work back to the core team. And then again, everything comes to the Board of Education and ultimately to the superintendent. Because then those decisions are made, because when we leave, which we will leave at some point, when we leave, you're the ones that are going to be implementing the plan. You're the ones that you've all been a part of. And then we will help you set up the metrics to measure and monitor, because we do believe that is such a key piece. We don't want to have just a plan that sits there on your website or sits there on a shelf. We want it to be something that brings change for your students, right? Because that's why we come to work every day. Here is for our students and what we can do the best for them. All right, so we begin with thinking about where we are currently. What is the current state? We'll examine that in great detail. And then we think about where do we want to be in 5 years, our desired state. That gap analysis is what we need to look at. How do we go from where we are now to where we want to be? Thinking about all of the data that we can collect, and all that Betsy Connors spoke about with our focus forums and our interviews. We can use all of that data to inform us so that we can figure out this step-by-step action plan that can go into place. And as we're going through your current step, what we're hearing from you is that you have many systems to collect that data, right? So we'll gather that data to start asking more questions, because that's what we ultimately want to do. We want to look at what we have in front of us and ask deeper probing questions. So this part becomes really important, because what I just talked about, this is a different way of looking at it, where again, we look at the vision and mission. We develop those strategic intents, those goals, and then we have annual targets for those goals. Because when you put that 5-year goal out there, you have to have incremental places where one thing we don't do enough in school districts is celebrate our success, right? So if we start meeting those benchmarks as we're moving toward that 5-year goal, we want to acknowledge that with our community, with everyone involved. Then we take those strategies and we develop those action plans, and we constantly look at what are our core beliefs, what are the parameters, and those will be set by the core team right out of the gate by taking in all the data that we collect through our focus forums. What are the core values of West Seneca District? And then the core team, again, with the work of the task forces, will help to build up all of our knowledge base to get to where we want to be for that desired state.
So this is another way then to just look at the interrelationship here between the core team. And we may have anywhere from 15 to 20 people on a core team, but the task forces, we would have one task force for every goal that your group, the core team has set and that the board has approved. And so some examples are listed on the screen. We may have task forces around teaching and learning, family and community interrelationships, community partnerships, student experience and engagement, fiscal integrity, multi-tiered support systems, whatever it is that indicates the goal or the direction that you're going in. We'll develop the task force around that. And task force participation will include many of the district employees along with other experts that have a particular interest in one of these areas that you have set.
And again, to add to that, so if you have, as you talked about, 15 to 20 people on a core team, and each one represents a different group, that's one group. But then when we have the task forces around each of those goal areas that Betsy just so nicely talked about, then we'll bring in more participants around each of those task forces. Because as they do their in-depth work around that area, so say it was the family connection, we would want to make sure we had the right people. You might want your parent group representatives to be there. You might want your director of student support services to be there. There are going to be people within the district and the community that you want to involve. Some of your community partnerships who help with that, you're going to want them sitting there as we delve into a topic for a task force. Then the task force, one person from the task force will come back and report to the core team about the progress. So that's kind of, again, why there are many ways to get multiple voices heard. Sure. So many ways, again, we can see in this slide, we'll have those surveys. So we have many people in your community will participate in the surveys. We'll have focus forums. We'll have interviews with certain people as you decide may be needed. We'll be benchmarking, and by benchmarking, we'll take a look at some of the districts that you feel are highly regarded, districts that you admire. We'll also look at what works clearinghouse, other places, research certainly in the educational field to help us understand what are the best practices and where is it that we want to go? How are we doing in relationship with other districts that are highly regarded and effective? Historical and current data will be very important, and all of that will help
each group, whether it's the task force or the core team, to make sound decisions. Yeah. So in relationship then to the focus forums, we want to make sure that we speak with students, support staff in the district, business community members, teachers and professional staff, and families. So all may participate in a survey, but when we have these focus groups, we can go deeper. We can have a back and forth conversation around open-ended ideas and really dig deep into the issues that people are bringing forward that will help inform this decision-making around the goals.
And some of what might drive that would also be if we see a certain question that we have responses to on the survey, again, those forums give us an opportunity to dig a little deeper and hear the voice of multiple stakeholders. So again, as we've talked about, those task forces, they're the action orientation and solutions-driven groups. You will work hard if you're on one of those task forces, because we're going to be constantly asking probing questions right along with whomever our district facilitator will be right in those groups with us. And again, you will come together in these groups and delve deep into the research, the data, and the best practices around these areas. So in looking at that, the data triangle then is our way of collecting on the student voice. That is one of our surveys, along with the family community engagement survey, and then we triangulate that with the school performance scan from the staff. And again, we do a data walk that we both love to do, because we really look at, do we see alignment with how everyone is observing our district on a certain area? For instance, school safety. There might be a statement around school safety asked for the students, the staff, and the families, and we look at and see, did we get the same type of response for that?
And so this is a timeline that we're thinking about, and we will be flexible with the timeline. We start this June. Should you accept this work, we would begin in June with some community forums. And this would be an opportunity for the whole community, anyone who wants to show up. Betsy and I would lead the forum to help people understand the process and the direction that we're moving. During the summer, we would set up and work with the leadership team of the school district and invite people to join the core team, and we would begin our work with them there. Then in the fall, we would begin our surveys, focus groups, and core team sessions, expanding the number of voices and opinions that we will hear and act upon. And then we would hope that by December, the task force action planning would begin. By spring, we would hope that the board would be able to review and discuss the process, look at the goals, and offer some approval there. And then we would look to implement the plan in the following year, 2023-24. And this is where these action plans would be set. There would be an opportunity through data dashboards to monitor and gather evidence to make sure we are on track to meet the expected outcomes year by year.
And another piece with that would also be developing with all of you, how are we going to communicate out to all our stakeholders about all the components of the plan? You know, once it's completed, what will that look like? And again, you will get a finished product that can go on your website, that you will have hard copies of, that you can decide how you want to send out that information and share it.
So most importantly, I think my colleague Betsy Connors and I are interested in servant leadership. You serve the community as board members. We want to help you in this process. So we're willing to sit down, customize the process, make it work for West Seneca community,
and help you get started. And at this point, you may have some questions for us, and we'd be happy to listen to your thoughts and answer any questions.
I have a couple, Pete. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
So when we started the beginning, the BOE approves the vision, mission, core beliefs, and goals. Do you have that well defined? The difference between what the vision is and the mission is? Because
Yeah.
the first three look like they mesh.
Right. Yes. So, and I know that you have already on your website a vision or a mission statement and core beliefs, and we would have an opportunity to review these too and see maybe you don't want to make any changes to what you have, and perhaps you do. But briefly, a mission statement defines briefly what you do. The vision statement is aspirational. It describes where you want to be, tends to be a little longer, but doesn't have to be. But it's a compelling statement of where you want to be. So there's a slight difference. And we have many examples too that we would use in our discussions and work. Core beliefs are the foundational pieces that the community believes in. And they are usually listed, you begin to notice that within a vision statement, you see core beliefs articulated.
All right, so as far as the vision goes, all right, I have a vision, I want to move my data center from Ebenezer to here. How does this get me there? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, so your vision might be that big, hairy, audacious goal that we're going to put out there, and that we work through together to have a collaborative vision for West Seneca. Okay? And again, when we get to vision, it does take a little bit of time to get through that because we have to collaborate on that and come to consensus on what will be our vision.
Right, okay.
So I've got three, I think, unique questions. The first question is, this is board-driven, district-driven. You guys are just facilitators. Like, you're not immediately, Pete, that's a stupid idea, we're not doing it. If I come, within the board wants to look at increasing safety throughout the district, your response then is, Ed, we're not doing that, shut up. Right, that is not the way it works. You're just the facilitators to say, okay, if the board sees the community wants that and the board wants that, let's figure out how to get to that point.
Let's write our goal around that for 5 years, and then let's bring in the specialists in that area on our task force to really do the research and look into that deeper.
I was lucky enough to co-chair a committee a while back where we did some of the stuff. We were parents, we were volunteers, we were part of the committee, we had to coordinate like 40 people. It was really difficult to participate and coordinate, so I'm interested in the idea of a outside, non-emotionally involved source to help drive it without driving it in certain directions. So I just want to be clear on that, and then this isn't just like you showing up saying this is going to be the plan.
Not at
Either
all.
you guys like it or lump it.
Not at all.
The other...
It will be your plan.
Okay.
And we can make sure that every voice is heard around the table.
Excellent.
We've done a lot of this work where maybe we just want to make sure that quiet people and everyone, whether they're quiet or dominant voices, that everyone is heard. And then you will all make your decisions about where you want to go.
Okay, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we may probe with some deeper questioning just to really get to what is the concern on the table or the question on the table or something of that nature.
Okay, yeah, help to understand what I might mean by, say,
Correct.
safety.
Yes.
Do I feel the buildings are unsafe? Do I feel the kids are unsafe?
Exactly.
Okay. So a couple other questions that are kind of more about process. I'm really big on surveys and stuff. Is your process the way you do this, is it, I don't want to use this word, transparent. Are you guys, you're doing surveys and stuff, are we sharing data all along? Are we communicating with the public? Again, back in this last committee we had a lot of, the meetings where people could watch them. Not that, I'm not saying that this, I don't know how you guys do things, but we were very open with what we were doing. And I participate in a lot of surveys. I got a phone call the other day, how do I feel about the governor, how do I feel about this? I'll never know the results of that survey, so I'm just curious to your process as far as, especially in the beginning, will you be sharing that sort of stuff with more than just the board? Is our community going to know results?
Correct. What we do is what we call the data triangle. And so we bring it in and we color code reports and show you everything. We will do it with the core team, we'll do it with the board, and obviously everything is placed on your website by the
Excellent.
district, so absolutely.
Okay. And last question, and I'll let other people ask about this. The other thing I hate is being part of anything, and then we work really hard on something. Say there's 10 of us or 20 of us, and we do our thing where we put the dot on the wall for the things we like, and then a month goes by in the next meeting, and there's 9 or 15, 19, 20 other people I don't recognize from the first meeting. How do you get this process to be consistent? Like, what's your plan or your goal to get I'm not saying the same people have to show up every time, but how do we get, how do we get it to be consistently done?
Sure, I think that's an excellent point, because we've all been in those situations. So we'll be gathering information, as we said, from the community in a variety of ways, from community forums to focus forums, small group surveys, but the core team will be a consistent group of people. And as we said, that might be 15 to 20 people with all stakeholders represented. Their task will be to show up at meetings. We understand sometimes people can't make it, but the expectation is that you'll serve. And it is hard work. We want people, the same people coming back to that. Same thing with our task forces. We'll have a task force for every single goal that is set by the core team and approved by the board. People on those task forces will commit to the time frame needed to put the action plans together.
Okay.
And there'll be a lot of sharing out of information so that everyone can see where the decisions are going.
Okay. And I have, I'm sorry, I do have one more. If I'm stepping on your toes here, Peter, let me know. So right now, we do have a great dedicated group of people working on a goal or a project. Would they, I don't know if you're even aware of it or not, but Peter's handling like building usage. I'm not sure what you guys are doing, but something like that currently exists, do they have a home in your process?
We would encourage you to have a representative on the core team and then bring that work with the task force together.
Okay, so it's almost like we already have a bit of that going already then.
Correct. We don't want to take you in a totally different direction. We want you to come in and with our focus forums, again, with getting the input, finding out what are you valuing right now that you're already working on, and then what are some new areas, or how do we help you dig deeper into those areas?
Great. I'm done with questions. Anyone else?
I have a couple too. Go ahead.
Oh, we're on it.
I have two.
We'll go with this.
How long do you usually work with each district?
Wow.
That does vary.
It varies.
It varies by size of district, and it also varies by time frame that districts set for themselves. So we can be ready to move quickly, or we can go for more than a year. And it'll be something we'll discuss with you as to time frame and how much you need, what you want, how you want to do it.
How often are you two or whoever's in charge of a district actively involved in the process?
As much as you need.
Okay.
And we're available 24/7
Okay.
for text and email and phone calls or virtual meetings.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll be there.
Yes.
And my next question is how and who selects the core team?
So that will become with the district. We'll talk about what you want that process to be to ensure that everyone is well represented, that each group that makes up your district is well represented, because you don't want it to be too many of one group represented, or that creates some problems.
The final say on that would be us, not you, right?
Correct. You guys, we'll work with you, on some ideas that we've had and what's worked in the past and give you some input, but you will as well help make that final decision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted, one of the things that that really stuck out to me was when you said servant leadership. I like that, so thanks for saying that. We're looking, like lately, our board has been given presentations from, a few different independent consultants. And so I kind of was piggybacking off of Ed, but, how will the independent consultants and the work that they're doing, how will you, work with the independent consultants or the information or data that's being gathered?
That's a great question. One of the first things that was going off for me as we listened to one of the presentations tonight, and we were both writing notes down, was about the curriculum audit. So you already have some work that's occurring in the district. As we gather our information, we're going to definitely look at all the pieces that are in place right now. When we talked about in that first slide about the puzzle pieces coming together, that's part of that, is taking the things that you already have going on or other groups you're working with that we can look at that information.
Okay, thanks. And I heard you talk about bringing in the experts, when something comes up, that maybe, like for example, kids and course offerings. For me, I think we have so many experts in our district, so I would love to see the experts within our districts tapped into a little bit more, rather than outside. Not that I am against outside experts by any means, but just I think, from my perspective, that would be really valued and appreciated in this district.
That is exactly what we value and appreciate. We don't know your school district well, but every school district where I've worked or the work that I do as a consultant, we see deep knowledge. And we want those people to step up if they have an interest in a particular goal area to be on our task forces. So if we have a goal around social emotional well-being of students, we would certainly hope that the people who are currently working in your district who have been concerned about this, working with this, bringing new things forward, they would serve on the committee, along with parents and outside people who are also partnering with you in this region. So that's what we mean by experts.
Okay, thank you.
And, if you wanted to bring in someone else from the outside, we could help you find someone, but we look inside first.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, one of the districts that I worked with looked at flexible furniture, right? So the experts were the students and the teachers. What do they need? What do they want? What are they looking for? And then we go on from there.
Okay, thank you. And I think I'm probably echoing maybe a little bit of what Liz just asked. Who picks the district facilitators? Do you guide that process of picking the district facilitators?
We would work with the district, and again, to see, especially for those task forces, to see, because it could also be a community person with one of us, with a district person.
Okay, so when we talk about district facilitators, will you be there as well with the district facilitators?
Absolutely, every
Okay.
step of the way.
Okay, thanks. And then I just have two more questions, I think. Oh yeah, do you have an example of your work from like start to finish on a local district, for example? Because you said, we take our work and you'll have a finished product. I think it would be really helpful to look at a finished product that you've completed.
Yes,
with the
and we
district.
provided a list with links right in it that you're going to
Okay,
get.
okay, great, thank you.
Okay.
And then I think my last question, and I don't know if that can be answered here, but just the cost,
Yeah.
what we're looking at.
Yeah, so I don't have those numbers.
Yes, I don't either. You have those numbers from Penny.
Okay. I think it's about 17.5
Okay, for 1 year or?
for the
whole-
process.
For
This
the
is the
whole
process.
process,
yeah.
okay.
And that's eightable? Or is that
75
after 8? Okay.
Great.
And that's whether it takes 1 year or 3.
Or are we talking about this guideline, this?
No, that's just an example.
Okay.
Then you will, you'll work to say, this is what we want it to look like.
So the way I look at it, and again, I always have to kind of make things, you saw me do math earlier. If I want to go to Disney, you guys are the travel agent, but I get to decide where I eat, when I eat, what rides I go on. I started with food. What rides I go on, what attractions. That's what the district does. I really, I think this, I appreciate you guys presenting it that way.
Yes.
I think it'd be a great collaborative process for us to be involved in.
Yeah.
So.
That was a great way of putting it. We kind of conduct the orchestra and we work on some private lessons with
That would
our
have been
small
better.
groups, right?
Yeah, that would have been better.
No, I like Disney.
I like the Disney one. I'm gonna remember that one. Thank you.
I like
for
Disney.
that.
There's no pay coming my way for saying that. Any other questions? Jan? Now, was this what we talked about before, where this was done in our district a while back?
PLC apparently, Shane, you said that, and this precedes me, but, or maybe it's just when I first came on board, but PLC was with us, with Dr. Capola, I want to say, and then
Right.
possibly Mr.
We had a
Bratz?
strategic plan, but we did it all within the district. We didn't have outside people.
Oh, I thought you had said, we talked to
No, it was
a
a
couple.
strategic plan with Dr.
Oh,
Capola.
you would indicate it was PLC,
We-
that's all.
We worked among our administrators and.
Gotcha.
That's what we did.
Okay, sorry.
We developed our own strategic plan, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. I misunderstood that, I apologize. But it went well?
It went well. It was
Great.
in the early 90s.
Great. Anything else? Anything?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Thank you
answering
very
the
much.
Thank you
question.
so much.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, come on to number 5. Does anyone want to do our 5-minute recess? That should take 5 minutes. Let's shoot for 5 minutes. Diane will throw her eraser at me if I don't. We have some things to move on or to vote on. My notes out of the way. If I can have a motion on 6A, please, create a certified position, temporary. Jody?
And I'll second.
Jody made a motion to accept and Diane second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Moves 7-0. May I have a motion on 6B?
I'll make a motion.
Liz, a motion to approve 6B. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Diane, any discussion?
I have, do we know what building this particular position is slated for?
Dr. Cervoni, are you able to comment on the music position, the 1.0 music position, exactly where we're going to be placing that?
Be within our elementary, so I can get you a breakout, but it's reducing travel in like 2 different buildings and moving
Oh, great.
so people don't have to travel, so we'll have a consistent person. Trevor Dolowski, our music coordinator, was kind of working out the puzzle pieces as how this will simplify. So I'm on the spot right now, and I can't remember what the primary building. There'll still be some travel, but it'll be greatly reduced. But it'll be within our 5 elementaries. I can email you the exact breakdown.
Yeah.
So then that's going to lead into my next question.
We'll have to post a position for transfer first. We don't really know necessarily because current employees have an opportunity. We have some secondary staffing meetings Thursday and Friday this week, and be able to certify that we start the transfer posting.
Okay.
And I'm just going to throw this out here. If we do any other conversations with people from the audience, I'll have you guys come up and grab a mic. People at home only hear our side of things, and I like to get the information out, if that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically what Mr. Cervoni said was it's going to cut down on travel, but the position is not, it hasn't been figured out exactly where yet. But it'll be in elementary buildings.
That is what I predict.
So, okay, great.
So then my follow-up question to that is, if it is going to be in an elementary building, will it be a position that actually has a classroom, or will it be a position that is on a cart? As I'm hearing that music is being moved to carts in at least one of our elementary buildings for next year.
I don't have a formal answer to that. I don't know where it will be. It is possible that there will be some special areas, either transitioning in different classrooms. That'll be building by building specific. We added a significant amount of classrooms, positions within the last 6 weeks just with an effort to reduce class sizes. So that does add strain as classrooms get filled up. I think as a leadership team amongst our elementary and even all of our, primarily our elementary, we made a commitment that reducing class sizes in our content in our areas was a number one priority. So is it possible that you may have a combination of shared classroom space, auditorium spaces when they exist, or potentially traveling on a cart in special areas? Yes. Where this new position ultimately lands won't be determined until people can post and then transfer process goes through, but I believe it will end up being elementary.
Some of our music teachers use the guitar, and that's easy if they have to, not have a classroom. Also, I used to roll a piano up and down the halls when I was teaching it,
Yeah,
here.
there's different multi-purpose, the different
Yeah,
spaces in different
there's spots.
buildings. And in talking with the principals, they're sensitive to that, and that was something that we talked about, because that was something we dealt with a little bit this year, when I know we had, you have an increased enrollment in certain buildings that add strain. And when you say that we want our class sizes below board guidelines, because we believe, that primary learning, in our K-5 buildings, it comes at a cost, right? And so that is a reality, and we talked a lot about that, and quite frankly, I talked even about it with Trevor and just said, Trevor, this, in some cases, something may have to give. And for the most part, very supportive and understanding of it. And there's certain things that you can do to try to create the best experience going. I think for the most part, our teachers have a pretty good K-12. As a teacher myself, I had to share a classroom with 2 or 3 people. So when you get your planning block, there's a class in there, so you go to the library or do something else. But
There's a difference between sharing a classroom, though, and hauling 24 guitars down the hallway to have music class.
yeah, I would hope that that's not happening in the change of classes. But you are right. Sometimes it takes some creative planning, and that's that's really the work as we're about to embark on all of our transfers, everything else. So as our staff and our teachers get settled, that's when really the work of the principals come in, developing the master schedule, looking at building usage, looking at classroom utilization, and determining kind of the best way to kind of meet student needs, but also then obviously create, best environment for our teachers. So, but you're right, Jody, there can be situations where it's going to be tough. And
The art teacher's never on a cart, and neither is the PE teacher, so I feel like
yeah.
it's always the music teacher first that gets...
Honestly, I will say, we've traveled some art teachers. Unfortunately, we've had to. I know when I was at West Middle School, we had foreign language teachers traveling. We had art on a cart as well. It's not, I agree with you, Jody. It's not ideal. It's not what we'd want. That's part of the whole process, too, when you start looking at where our students are allocated. When we talk about one of the things incorporated within the strategic planning process, honestly, where we to move forward with this. And one way or another, we have to move forward. But evaluating where our students are attending and potentially try to reallocating them more equitably, throughout the different schools and whatnot. So I think it's a longer-term goal. And as John said, this is a conversation that we've absolutely had to say, what's, with our leadership, including folks like within, art and music and whatnot, to say, if we add, it's going to add additional strain on classroom spaces. Is that still something that is worth it in this particular situation? It's saying, yeah, we want the body, we'll take the body and we'll figure it out. So, but you're right, it's absolutely not ideal, so.
Yeah,
I know, for example, and I don't know if it's still the situation this year, Clinton was complaining they were overcrowded. Teachers were overcrowded at Clinton, but we did not move special ed from Clinton last year. I'm not hearing that there's the issue with Clinton and specials and things like this, but, some of our integrated classrooms that maybe have children that are not in, where they call our E&L classrooms, or maybe their home base could be moved to accommodate everybody if we have empty spaces.
Yeah, I can tell you
Or
that,
empty classrooms.
yeah, and that's where some of the artistry comes into play, where you've got a building administrator that really sits down with their team to say, hey, what's the most optimal? Here's what we have, here's the number of staff we have, here's the spaces that we have in play, and I can tell you right now, our building principals will say, what's going to work best here? And in some cases, I can be honest with you that, it's okay, well, this isn't great and this isn't great either, but between the two, I'm going to take this one is kind of how the usually it winds up when you talk to the teacher about that, or when the building principal has to say, maybe we can, break down a computer lab or something like that because we don't necessarily need a lab because everybody has Chromebooks.
Everybody has Chromebooks
Yeah,
now.
things like that. It's kind of like sort of reimagining the use of your building in some cases too, so.
We have seen that, like different spaces that were, a closet maybe that can be repurposed and just have an office space for someone to do some work. And I think too, some of the leadership structure that we've added has given opportunity for these different departments to have a voice too, where, you can have a music coordinator that's working with multiple principals that's seeing maybe how different buildings are approaching music classroom space use. What does chorus look like? What does a small instrument group look like? How are lessons? I mean, I've walked by this space and I have seen everything from violins going on to book fairs to there was like this movie going on in here. So it's how do you find creative ways to use space? And for the most part, I think it's a collaborative process. That would be my expectation between the principals. But I'll reiterate that message when we meet again too, and just saying it shouldn't, I don't believe so, but if you're hearing that the burden is only falling on our music educators, that shouldn't be the case. And we should all, as special areas and even content areas, how can we get creative? The phys ed we can throw, we can tell them to go outside,
We can't.
but when it's nice out.
Or when it's not,
yeah.
they cross-country ski at East Meadow. They sure do.
Yeah, so thank you for bringing that to my attention. It
being
is a real
said,
thing.
That shows that we either need to, utilize a group that just presented, or one way or another start working, and Peter's group's working on that. It's not being ignored, but I'd be willing to bet part of the information we get is we don't want teachers, on carts, or we don't want.
That'll be one of the priorities, sure.
Yeah.
And what is the engagement? Let's say you went through K-5 elementary school and your music teacher was on a cart. Did you get the best music experience that you're going to actually go forward and join music in the upper grade levels in your secondary schools, or was it just meh?
Well, I think our secondary music program reflects that, because we're strong, and kids do get involved in all the musicals. They really do. And look what we're doing in the high schools and the junior highs too. I think the value of this is that we are offering music and fourth grade music lessons and everything to every student in our district. And that's not true in some of the other districts. So
At one
I
point-
just value this new addition.
I will tell you, in the initial response and feedback was obviously excitement from our music department.
That's right.
And in having that conversation, this is able to reduce lesson groups. This is able to reduce potentially, instrumental people maybe having to cover, because they kind of have one cert, but they're specialized, right? You have your strings people, you have your instrumental people. So this is reducing some of that, maybe leaning outside of maybe your specialty area and keeping the experts, where they are best. So I think that they are super excited about the potential of this ad, and we'll take a little creative thinking with classroom space over having another dedicated professional to be able to work with kids, create lessons, both vocal and just, this has a K-12 effect when you add in this area. And but I think valid concern as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0. I think if I could have a motion on, we could do 6C and D.
I'll move.
Diane, a motion to accept 6C and D?
I asked for 6D to be separate, please.
Sure. If I can have,
Actually, I'm sorry, I meant 8D. My apologies. It can be C and D.
okay, I'm sorry. So Diane's got the motion. May I have a motion second?
I'll second.
Jody? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Moves 7-0. And did I miss an E? I did not miss an E on there.
No.
Okay. Take a look at personnel classified, number 7. If I could have, I think I could do a motion on A through D. If anyone's interested in making a motion on A through D.
Yeah, there's no individual.
I'll move.
I'll
Diane? May I-
second.
Molly, seconds on accepting 7A through D. Any discussion on any items in that category? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Move 7-0, thank you. We'll move on to personnel, and I know there's one in here. I got your notes. So if I can have a motion to move, may I have a motion on 8A, please?
I'll move.
8A. And may I have a second?
I'll second.
Is Joey second to accept 8A? Any discussion? Other than, I'm assuming...
Congratulations on his first win.
Congratulations on his first win.
Yeah.
Are we approving the position with a stipend? Like, where's the stipend?
No, it's a volunteer.
This one's volunteer.
Oh, this is volunteer.
Volunteer.
Okay, that's why I'm
Great.
confused.
Well, even
Awesome.
doubly congratulations on the first win.
Yeah,
He donated the
awesome.
stipend.
That's great.
Oh, really?
Marino son.
Okay, great. Excellent. I'm going to go undefeated this year. Where did I get on that? I'm sorry. Did I have a motion to accept?
Yep.
All in favor? Sorry, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? 7-0. May I have a motion on 8B?
I'll move.
Diane? May I have a, Diane moves to accept 8B. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Pete? Any discussion on 8B?
This is very good. This is really something that makes a district run smoother. So
Excellent.
I just think this is good things.
Good comment to make. Any other discussion?
Same as
Typical,
always.
same as always?
Same as always, yep.
Okay, appreciate that. All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone, okay, so moves 6-1. And we will do an 8C. If I may have a motion on 8C.
I'll make a motion.
Molly, motion to accept 8C.
I'll second.
Jody, I have a second to accept 8C. Any discussion on that one? Substitute appointments, any, I guess, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Move 7-0. Thank you. I think 9 reports, just A and B. May I have a motion to accept A and B?
I'll move.
Liz makes a motion to accept A and B. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Peter, thank you for the second. Any discussion on A or B? All in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Move 7-0. Move on to 10. Let's see, we will do, I think, if I get this right, I can make a motion to move on 10A through 10F.
I'll move.
Diane makes a motion to accept 10A through 10F. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Peter, second on that. Any discussion on 10A through 10F?
Can you just tell me, Matt, what the two bids are for, just quickly?
So, and jump in if you need to, Joe, but special inspections, I think, is that the roofs that we're looking at, Joe? Or is that, no, that's the parking lots and asphalt and soil and things like that? Forgive me here.
I think it's attached.
Sorry. And then the hazardous...
E&D, I mean,
Yeah.
E&F. Just,
The special inspections are for asphalt, compaction, concrete strength, those sorts of things. The other one is, I believe, asbestos abatement and removal.
Okay.
Testing,
It is.
air
It
testing,
is, yep.
quality testing.
okay, thank you.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Move 7-0. And I think these can be grouped together. If I can have a motion on G, H, I, and J.
Ooh, I'll move.
Jan?
I'll second.
G, H, I, and J. Jan makes a motion. Jan makes a motion to accept G, H, I, and J, and Molly seconds. Any discussion?
You'd better have a hot coffee pot, too.
A hot coffee pot? Okay, well, I had the joy of working Saturday, and we actually did have hot water. You would not believe the ramen noodles that sold at this event. There was an entire case of ramen noodles. And these,
gosh.
It was really cool. Anyone have any, Jody, did I hear you?
Yeah, I just have some questions, because this is for the concession and bathroom at West Senior. As I indicated at the last board meeting, what is the status of the east side and actually opening it and making it active so that, like Molly made a great point, I believe it was your father-in-law you couldn't bring to an event because there was no accessible way for her to get him into a restroom. I was at East this weekend. Yes, there is a handicap porta potty, but we do have flush bathrooms at the facility that are just closed.
Yeah, so
So,
we've had some conversation, honestly. The concern that was out there was that they were trying to keep the maximum amount of supervisors where the majority of the people are, okay? So we had the original intent, and I think the direction we're going to be moving is to actually have somebody that's designated to basically, and it could be one of our supervisors or security guards, but just to keep an eye inside the bathroom, inside the building so that the bathrooms can be open. That was the original conversation. I think things got a little hairy this past fall in terms of maybe big crowds and things like that, some of the football games. I think there was a little apprehension with having anybody not directly on the field. I did have some conversation with Marissa a little bit about that. I think that's the direction we're going to be moving toward, though, is just dedicating somebody to be able to be there, so to supervise. They're just worried about, a kid going in the bathroom and vaping, or somebody just being unsupervised kind of in the vicinity. That's really what it comes down to, so.
and these buildings will only be open during school events, not open to the public?
No, it wouldn't be.
On a weekend. So let's
Yeah.
say I decided I wanted to walk the track at East on the weekend. Do I have no bathroom facilities available to me because we're now removing the porta potties?
Well, we haven't removed the porta potties yet, but I mean, the building would not be open.
The building would not be open?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, you're referring to east or west?
Either one.
Either
one. The building would not be open if it's not a school function. Or in the event that it was an out-of-school function, the bathrooms were rented and staffed in
Yeah.
addition to the field.
I'm going to be quite honest with you. I don't know. You're asking a great question. I guess I'm envisioning like a concession stand bathroom facility. I don't know, honestly, that those are unlocked just in general. I think those are probably only unlocked during school events or an event that somebody's actually utilizing the field, I think. So don't quote me on that. I guess that we have to be able to look at, but
It was one of the questions we were asked when renting the facility was, did we need access to indoor bathrooms or were the
Sure.
porta potties sufficient?
Yeah.
So I would assume if they were rented, they would also require supervision.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
Of
Yeah, I'm
some
sorry. I thought you just meant if you just randomly showed up at Elwood East, like on a Saturday afternoon or something like that.
No, let's just say, lacrosse tournament rents out the field or something like that.
I think we just would have to incorporate that into the
Into their
fee
rental.
structure. Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, and, I'll add for future discussion, I do like, the idea of talking about east, but as far as west, I believe where the concession stand is, it's not locked in the field behind the gates, so it would be accessible depending on whatever sports are there or whatever.
Yeah.
That was the other idea of it, it's not just football only,
Right.
it's in the middle of all the fields, and theoretically, as
Yes.
we move on in
I'm
the
just
future.
thinking late night, bad things happen, locked building, or, concealed building,
Sure.
is
Yep.
it locked when it's not, the
That
facility
would
is
be my
not-
understanding, yeah, but I guess if somebody could turn me around with other reasoning, but that'd be my understanding.
Yeah, I would almost think if the high school itself is unlocked for events, my guess would probably be that building would be, correct? And for those at home, Joe Farr is answering yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we do intend to get, East requires nothing other than really being opened, cleaned, it's up to code, everything is, there's no issue with it other than what we were concerned with.
It was more just supervision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I have concerns about spending this much money on a concession stand. My concern is at the end, when we're trying to finish Phase 4, which are more, taking care of our buildings and all of that, and our science rooms, I'm concerned that the money might not be there to do those. So I'm just, concerned about spending this much money on a concession stand. And I know, you need bathrooms and things like this for sporting events, but I think our first priority should be to our buildings and our educational programs.
Anyone else have any discussion on the matter? I will, I will throw out there that this is, something that I've thought about heavily, and I do appreciate all the effort that everyone's put into collecting information, and there's several board members made an appearance over the weekend at it was a track event. It was a great event. So I do think, again, I appreciate everyone involved and everything we've done to this point. So I'll do a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
I'm opposed.
Diane, and no one abstains. So it moves 6-0.
6-1.
6-1.
6-1.
All right.
Think again, edit that math thing again.
That math again.
Things
Got
we're
it.
talking about, like, that summer program.
Yeah.
Stepping up to West.
I might have extra time on my hands after June, so we'll see. Okay, if I can get a motion on K and L, I think I can do those together.
I just have a question about K, so this is...
No, we're not doing questions yet.
Okay.
I do a motion.
Oh, sorry.
I'm getting this right for the first time. Let me.
You haven't
I'm
gotten
just
it right,
kidding,
I'm
Liz.
sorry.
If I can have a motion on K and L.
I'll motion.
Jody, and if I can have someone to accept the second.
I'll second.
Pete, now, any discussion? I'm just goofing with you, Liz.
Okay,
Go ahead, discussion.
Yeah, so this is, I saw your message the last minute, everything was approved, so we are,
Teachers,
Right.
by a very large margin, approved. They ratified the contract today.
okay.
So I had a good conversation with Joe Contafio afterward, and he just expressed on behalf of the association, the board, the district support of the teachers and of the students, really, because, just there's a lot of good dialogue that took place, but all student-centered. So they were very appreciative of the level of support that the district is showing for the teachers, and the teachers, I think, are excited about moving forward, so.
Okay, good.
Yeah, and I will add, the candidates night, I said, all parties should walk away unhappy from negotiations. I didn't mean it that way. I mean, it's like if everybody's happy, everyone gets what they want, or that whole, I think it's like an adage where if both sides are just a little unhappy, then everything went well. Clearly, I do not know how to speak well all the time. So we have any other discussion on this?
Nope. Yeah, and to me, it's good to get this done because they've had an extension for the last 2 times. So
Sure.
it's good to solidify this with a 4-year, and we all know where we're going with it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw out the other thing there. I've never appreciated the process more than going through it this time. I think that goes without saying. I appreciate everyone involved in this too, from all sides.
I heard good feedback all around. I think everybody was very dedicated to the process of coming up with something that made sense for the district, for our students, for our teachers. So I heard very good things all around. Very collaborative process.
Excellent.
And thanks to Dr. Cerrone for dumbing it down for us, and kind of putting it in black and white.
Chart form.
Excellent. So we have a motion. So all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Move 7-0. And financial reports are not something we vote on?
Correct.
Public comments. So I know we had one person sign up. Would we like to do public comments on non-agenda items at this time? Is there anyone who'd like to come up? I see Jen popping her head up. And we have, actually, real quick, do I need to read it again, or are we good with all the rules and regulations on
I
it?
think Jen's good.
Jen's good?
Have you seen this before, Jen? Have you seen this speech before?
Excellent.
I want to listen to Ed read it all.
I'm getting better. Okay, so go ahead.
Agreement?
All right. You all know me. My name is Jen at 47 Manhasset Street. Very interesting meeting today, but my first main goal is the buses. We have 70 buses through West Seneca's district, correct?
About that, yeah.
And we outsource for students. Why are we, and I love that we have the phone call for the students, to the parents, when our buses are going to be late or anything like that. But, and Matt, I emailed you about this, but this is I'm not the first person that I've seen it throughout my parent groups and everything like that. 6 kids to a seat, kids waiting for a half hour, 45 minutes in the odd, again at West Middle, collaborating to different routes. I understand that we have a teacher shortage, a bus shortage, but something needs to be done in regards to having kids wait or be on the bus longer than they need to be to get to or from school. It's getting ridiculous, and I'm not the only one that has an issue with it. The second thing is, who suggested using PCL, and why do we need to spend $12,500 when we can't have, like Jody said, arts or music class in their own class, but we can spend $12,000 on a program, a facilitator, when Jan said back in with James Bratz, they did it without outsourcing. So why can't we do the same thing and not spend $12,000 on an outsourced group and do it ourselves? And use that money towards getting our arts teachers and music teachers into a specific room. And let's see here. I think that's it. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for your comments, and, you know, I will just add on there, when we do get you the answers and stuff, Jen, you know, feel free to get the word out in your groups and stuff once you've had the conversation.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Before we move on to do our board discussion, one thing I failed to neglect, are there any candidates in the audience that are here tonight? I know last time I introduced them, but I believe we have Jen and Fran, our 2 candidates running for the board. Anyone else? Well, I just want to thank you guys for coming tonight. Appreciate you guys putting your name out there and getting involved.
Just to let you know, my fine comments are nothing to do with...
No, absolutely not. I just recognized the candidates last time, and I wanted to make sure I got them this time for you guys. Again, thank you guys for coming and putting your names out there. Appreciate it. Public comments, Board of Education discussion. We'll move on to that. Is there anything that we would like to discuss? Anything before we move on to our next thing?
It's just that bill that I'd ask everyone to contact, you know, it passed it's about APPR and the testing and so forth, you know. But anyway, it passed the House, and it's on the Senate under a different number, and they're discussing it, and it looks pretty positive. So it's all good.
So when it's under a different number, does that mean they got to work together?
Well, because it's on the Senate floor now. So.
Okay.
But it was in the House, and it passed the House. You know,
Okay.
overwhelming. So that's very good for districts.
Jan, is that the bill that you sent us today? Is that the one that you referred to today in your
Yeah.
email? Okay.
Okay, so we're good. Well, it has to still be
It's looking,
voted on.
it's looking good.
They're into the second reading of it.
That's good. On the Senate, did it pass in the Assembly or it's in the Senate?
In the House, in the Assembly it passed.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry,
No.
I'm thinking nationally.
Simple
But, yeah, it passed in the Assembly.
Okay.
And so it has a different number, but it looks very positive. So it's really good for districts, it's really good in the evaluation process.
Appreciate that. Thank you for the info. Okay, at this time, I would like to, if someone wants to make a motion, to go into executive, I'd like to propose a motion to move to executive for the purpose of consulting with our attorney. Diane, may I have a second?
I'll second.
Jody, all in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, and I'll let everyone know that we're not going to be coming back and conducting any other public business. So feel free to hang out or not. And I thank you for your time again. Appreciate it.
Night, everyone.
Night.
Thank you.
Okay, we're back from executive. If I may have a motion to adjourn. Peter makes the motion to adjourn. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Jody, second. All in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion moves.